Tonight's species have tough scales and armored skin. The old-timers call them blackfish, and most people recognize them because of their three tails. If you haven't guessed by now, we're talking tripletail here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back, Floridians. You're watching the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and we have a great show planned for you today as we celebrate Father's Day this weekend and welcome the official first day of summer. Rick, I've been seeing tripletail catches all over social media, so I think it's a good time to talk about how and where to catch them.
You know, the calm conditions is certainly very helpful, Brie, when you have it calm. But you'll hear some of the guys talk about it. But one of the things that most people don't recognize is sometimes that tripletail will go completely straight head down, and all you see is the black three tails. Some people mistake that as being a trash and drive right on past it.
Trash bags. Look for those trash bags. All right, before we hit up our first region, let's say hi to Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench. He's going to have some tripletail talk for us today, aren't you, Dave?
Yes, I am. You know, I come from the middle of the state, and I fish at Cape Canaveral, and that's one of the hot spots for tripletail. So I've caught a few of them.
So he's going to know what he's talking about.
A little bit.
Yes, he is.
That's a good thing. All right, let's zoom into the Fish Bites East region, where Captain Mike Holliday says to head to the channel markers more than the crab buoys if tripletail is on Dad's wish list this weekend. Talk to us, Mike.
Well, you know, Brie, we're on the kind of the end of the tripletail bite in my region, but you can still find some good fish in the Indian River between the Jensen Beach Causeway and Southbridge and Fort Pierce. And you can also find them around the mouth of the Loxahatchee River, around those deep holes and channels. There's not as many crab trap buoys as you'll find in the fall and spring, so most of the fish are holding on the channel markers, as well as like the manatee zone signs or any of these little poles or signs that you see sticking up. A lot of those larger fish that you'll catch this time of year will come off of the steel channel markers, ones that are like I-beams. You'll also find, you know, fish floating on buckets and trees, on the sargassum weed lines, all that stuff as it pushes in from offshore. For bait, pretty hard to beat a live shrimp, either fished on a saltwater assassin quick cork or on a jig head, but they'll also eat small shrimp or bait fish flies, brown bucktail jigs. Rick was with me one time, he caught one on a spoon. Average tripletail in my region is going to be 4 to 10 pounds, but we get them up to about 20 pounds. I have a photo there of some. That's John and his dad Bob. From Pensacola. They doubled up on tripletail fishing in the Indian River. They were fishing with Captain John Young, and those fish all ate live shrimp on a jig head. Now, the other thing we got going is prime time for the tarpon migration along the beaches. Also, a lot of fish around the inlets. The fish are pushing up the coast daily. At dawn, you want to run until you find the school, then use your trolling motor to get close to the fish and cast either, you know, a dark colored fly or a pilchard or a live crab. And then as the sun gets up and the fish start moving, look for those schools that are working their way up the beach in 10 to 15 feet of water. Get in front of those schools and pitch a threadfin, a mullet, a pilchard, a sardine, or a crab. And just keep pitching at the fish, and you'll eventually get the bite. I don't throw on the school. I throw on the outside and let the bait kind of sweep into the school. That's a really good trick on the beach. At the same time, we're seeing good number of fish for our summer inshore tarpon population. Fish are in the Crossroads area in Stewart. They're up in the north and south forks of the St. Lucie River. They're around Big and Little Mud Creek, around the mouth of Big Mud Creek, big time right now. And those fish will eat live mullet, pilchards, or dark-colored 4-inch saltwater assassin sea shads. And the average tarpon region is going to be like 30 to 80 pounds. Smaller fish on the inside, bigger fish on the outside.
All right, let's go offshore, bub.
Well, it seems like right around Father's Day is when that summer sailfish bite starts to peak. As those fish are kind of moving out of the Gulf and they're moving into the Florida Straits. And that bite's been going pretty strong for the last couple of weeks. And it's ramping up to be an epic summer sailfish bite for those big sailfish. Right now, the main body of fish are from Juneau Beach to the St. Lucie Power Plant and anywhere from 120 to 300 feet of water. I know Captain Scott Fawcett of Stewart, he had 8 releases in the morning this week. Most of the offshore boats in the region are getting, 1 to 4 shots a day, maybe even more. You'll hook sailfish just trolling value, but the boats that are catching good numbers of sails and the ones that are catching the fish in multiples, they're either slow trolling live bait or they're fishing them out on kites. There's also been a lot of free jumpers and fish that are just sunning up on the surface. They look like a palm frond. You're just running along and you see what looks like a dark palm frond, and it's just a sail up there sunning. If you see either of those things, you want to run right to that spot where you see them, put out baits, and you're likely hook up. The average sailfish is going to be around 40 pounds. The other thing we got, there's a really strong blackfin tuna bite going from Palm Beach all the way up to Stewart and also out on Push Button Hill. But the most consistent action is from Sloan's Curve up to about the Juneau Pier, and that's in like 100 to 270 feet of water. But there's a lot of sharks out to like 150 feet or so. So that's making it tough for some of the guys to get the tuna in. Out on Push Button Hill, it's a lot deeper. That's an early morning bite and a late afternoon bite. Just look for birds diving on the water or fish busting on the surface. Blackfin tuna are notoriously boat shy. So you want to put, your bait spread out a little further than you normally would, and always shotgun one bait way back. You can target the fish with small naked ballyhoo on monofilament leaders or silver or red or pink or black feathers. The guys who are catching a lot of fish right now are live chumming with pilchards and then putting baits out on 30-pound fluorocarbon leaders and a 2.0 trocar circle hook. Small circle hooks to kind of hide that hook in that bait because they see really well. Average blackfin's like 10 to 20 pounds, but there's fish to 30 pounds or more. I got a photo. That's from Jupiter. Lucas Hilton. He caught that nice blackfin tuna fishing with Captain Charlie Stuve, and that fish ate a live pilchard.
All right, Mike, let's talk a little bit about some bass fishing. Has this rain hurt it or helped it?
It's helped a little bit because the water temperature's been so high on Lake Okeechobee. The rains are cooling it down a little bit. But still, the best action is going to be right at first light. You want to be out on the water along the outside grass lines or around the Kissimmee grass fields, looking for the bass, either busting shad or birds diving on the bait. You can usually hear it more than see it. You can start your day throwing a white spinnerbait or a Bass Assassin 5-inch albino fire tiger or alewife colored shad, just like a white shad that looks like a shad. That shad bite will go to about 7:30 most mornings, maybe a little bit longer if it's overcast. From then you can push up inside and look for the bluegill beds in 2 to 4 feet of water. Sometimes you can smell those before you see them and then work those potholes in the grass in those areas with a topwater plug or a mama's chicken or hillbilly special colored dye dapper. You really just want something that has a bit of chartreuse or a little bit of blue in it. That's been really good up around Kings Bar. You can also throw swim baits or crankbaits in the Rim Canal between Taylor Creek and J&S Fish Camp. The shiner bite's working pretty well, but the guides are reporting that they have to move a lot to keep the bite going. So, they get 3 or 4 bites here, then move, 3 or 4 bites and move. It's a 20 fish morning. Average bass is 1 to 3 pounds with fish to 6 pounds in the mix.
All right, man. Great report, eh?
That was a great report, Mike. Thank you. You look good in your little cubby hole there.
We appreciate all your hard work, Hollywood. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TNX Marine hotspots from the East region. He says tarpon in Big Mud Creek at first light, live mullet, and a 4-inch Houdini colored sea shad, and then offshore yellowtail and mutton snappers, 85 to 110 feet of water off of Lost Tree Village. Use pilchard, squids, and grub plugs for bait.
All right, the R&R Tackle Southeast region is ready for the Father's Day weekend ahead, and Captain Jimbo Thomas is on the line to help us get prepared for those tripletail, blackfin, or tarpon bites, whatever floats Dad's boat.
Anything dumb enough to bite's the way I look at it. So hello, Brie, Rick, and Dave. Most of the tripletail that we find here in the Southeast region, they're offshore on floating debris, and they're basically a bycatch while we're out there searching for dolphins. And more often than not, they're really tough to get the bite, at least in my experience. Now, I usually don't mess with them unless they're obviously really big ones. We see a lot of them, but most of them aren't, that big. So unless it's like a really big one, we just keep going. Now, when we do find that big one, we use like a small live pilchard, small live blue runner will work, live shrimp, and we also get them on chunk bait, like a chunk of bonita, chunk of ballyhoo, but you got to get it right on their nose, especially if they're sitting under a piece of wood or some debris, get that bait right on their nose. Now, I'm sure, where am I? For some reason, though, we don't find them on the trap buoys like they do in the Gulf. They are also occasionally found along the shorelines of Biscayne Bay and in the ICW around sunken branches and logs. And the few times that we found them along the shoreline, they were really eager to eat a live bait put right on their nose. Now, it's getting a little late in the season, but we're still finding some nice blackfin tunas throughout the whole region. We've been catching them on live baits fished under the kite or flatlining them. Best depths have been 120 to 250 feet of water. If you can find some areas with blue water and north current, that's where it's going to be the best. We've been using 30 or 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders, 6.0 to 7.0 circle hooks. There's also been a few kings around, so we've been getting cutoffs. If we're getting some cutoffs, we have been putting a piece of wire leader on, and it really hasn't seemed to affect that tuna bite too much. Now, they've been biting best first thing in the morning and then late in the afternoon, but on overcast days, which we've had the last couple of days, they seem to be consistent throughout the day. There's also been some smaller blackfins caught on small feathers and lures on the troll, but those bigger ones have all been on the live baits, and we're talking about fish up to roughly 25 to 30 pounds. Now, I got a photo here. This isn't a tuna, but this is a full-grown 65-pound dolphin, and this was caught on the Starbright boat by Captain Peter Miller, or not Peter Miller, by Captain Peter, I'm sorry. But I'm sure they had some good cleaners to get all that dolphin blood off the boat.
Woo, that's beautiful.
That fish was 65 pounds
Man.
after a day and a half of being on the ice. How crazy
my gosh,
is that?
that's amazing.
All right.
That's full-grown there.
Go inshore, bud.
All right, so moving inshore, our report's pretty much a repeat of the last few weeks. We've got tarpon in and around the inlets and also around the bridges and lit docks. Now, around the inlets and off the beaches, they've been eating live crabs, live shrimp, and baits like mullet, pinfish, herrings. And if the water's real clear, it's a good idea to scale down to some lighter leaders and smaller hooks. Now, around the bridges, look for those tarpon feeding along the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. Now, all of the fishing around the bridges and the inlets taking place in the evenings and early mornings. Also, during the daytime, these same tarpon, they're being found in and around the deeper holes in Biscayne Bay and also throughout the Intercoastal Waterway. And those daytime tarpon, they're eating live crabs and live baits, as well as swimming plugs and even flies. And staying inshore, got some great bonefish and permit down in South Biscayne Bay. Captain Joe Gonzalez reports that the best bite for bonefish has been early in the morning before the water gets too warm or after a rain shower cools the water down on those flats. The permit, they've been active throughout the day. They don't seem to mind that warm water so much. The best fishing has been on the inside and outside flats with hard bottom and good current from Soldier's Key, South Angelfish Creek. Look for those fish mudding or tailing on top of the flats on the higher stages of the tide, and then in the channels and along the edges of those channels and the edges of the flats as that water starts to fall. And as usual, for bonefish and permit, best bait's going to be a small live crab or a crab pattern fly. I got another photo here. This is fly fisherman Chris Madsen from Wyoming with a beautiful Biscayne Bay permit that he caught with Captain Joe Gonzalez.
Thank you for sending that picture in, Joe. Thank you for all your work this week, Jimbo. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the R&R Tackle Southeast region. Inshore, tarpon, fish with live crabs and mullet around the bridges and the inlets. And then if you want to go offshore, looks like it's a mixed bag of sailfish, mahis, kingfish, blackfin tunas, fishing live baits along the edge of the Gulf Stream, guys.
Oh man, the day that I catch a 65-pound mahi, I will be swimming in a puddle of happy tears.
Oh,
I will be so happy.
That's all be
It's coming.
A lot of tears to float you and that mahi.
Listen, it's okay. I'll be so happy. Coming right up, we're fishing the Garmin Panhandle region, but first Dave is getting riggy with it over at the CCA Workbench for Academy Sports and Outdoors, rigs and techniques.
If I'm catching a 65-pound dolphin, I'm swimming in a big thing of soy sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm eating him.
I'm with you.
I'll be crying and eating.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Soy sauce.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Fenwick. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fishing mapping, entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Stiffy. Innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
Reliability. Yamaha is known for it. And it's something boaters value, because these days, few things are built to last. When we find something that is, we hold on to friendships, traditions, outboards. Because every second on the water is sacred. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life, because reliability starts here.
What started in the flats and bays has migrated offshore. GPS-guided trolling motor technology has moved to boats in the 35-plus foot class and allowed anchoring capabilities on most center consoles in any depth of water. From snook and redfish inshore to grouper and swordfish way out deep, Rodan Marine Systems has a GPS anchor to hold your vessel on location. Set it, forget it, catch more fish.
Every year, Noble Air Charter flies over 20,000 outdoorsmen and families just like you economically to over 300 Bahamian and Florida destinations. Noble Air Charter makes a substantial investment improving booking and aircraft route planning to create the most affordable and economical flight possible. And tomorrow, Noble Air's team will rise to the challenge to raise the bar yet again.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and you know what? It's time for the Academy rigs and techniques right here.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're talking about tripletail, and they're a really good game fish here in Florida. They're really good to eat, and they're easy to catch if you see them, and you see them a lot. Usually that's how you fish for them, is you see them first before you get to them. Although some places we can fish for them in different ways. But I'm really lucky because, like I said before earlier in the show, I live in Central Florida, and we get a lot of them, great big ones that come up here to our area off the Cape. The buoy line out of Cape Canaveral, all the buoys have them on them. There's a big shoal area up to the north, a really shallow spot up there that goes from 2 feet to like 15 feet for a long, long way, right on the surf. And there's a lot of little wrecks and holes in there that they'll sometimes be on, the little wrecks in there. But most of the time, guys find them on the shoals, just driving across and having a little tower boat and looking for those trash bags, because the great big ones are black, and that's what they look like. They look like a big trash bag. And that's how the tripletail makes his living. He lays on his side. Either when he's a little guy, he looks a lot like a mangrove leaf, and when he gets older, he just creates shade. He's a big black object that creates shade for other fish to gather under, and when they do that, then that's when he gets fed, because they come to him and he creates the little environment for them. So that's what we're looking to do, is we're looking to try to throw something that imitates one of those little crustaceans, a little crab, a little bait fish, a little jack or something, that either artificially or with one of those baits. And the best bait of all for a tripletail is probably a live shrimp. And you'll put a live shrimp on a nice big, like a live bait hook. Notice I got several different styles of hooks up here. If you're using a big chunk bait or something, you want to use a kale hook, like that one. Exactly, I got one rigged up there, like a kale hook, because if you're using a big bonita chunk or something, because it's got a nice big gap. Now, but if you're using a shrimp, something with a smaller profile, and I always hook my shrimp in the tail when I use them, so it's the hook is far out from the bait, and those live bait hooks really work really good. Also, the little octopus hooks work really good. If you're inshore and you're not catching those fish well over 10 pounds, the little 6, 7, 8 pounders, the little octopus hooks work really good because they're a small wire and they go in really quickly. They penetrate very well, especially the trocars, and that's what you need, because a tripletail is a buzzsaw from head to tail, all the way around him. He's got spikes. All his scales go all the way to the end of his fins, and because he has to be bulletproof. He's laying around on the surface. He's easy target, and the sun is also beating on him, and so that's why he's black, and he absorbs that, and so his skin is really thick so he doesn't get hurt from the sun as well. So that's what makes him like a little buzzsaw. When you go to clean them, you better have a good knife sharpener because you're going to be spending a lot of time. Now, when you're fishing for them with artificials, little jigs work really well, 1/8-inch jigs, 1/8 ounce, or up to a 1/2 ounce jig, depending on where you're at and the depth of the water. You want it to be light enough to stay in the strike zone, because they're usually going to be floating at or near the surface, within 2 feet of the surface, either underneath of a bucket or sargassum or something. They're usually associated with an object offshore. And so you're going to want something that's going to stay relatively close to the surface. And if your jig is too heavy, it'll sink out of that zone too quickly. So you want to try to use something a little lighter.
You like to tip your jigs with fish bites?
Exactly. You can if you're using just a regular bucktail jig or something like that, then I would definitely put one on there as well, because it just adds to the scent. And a triple tail, although you'll hear some guys say they bite everything, a lot of times they can be a little like the last time I went out with Randy Towle. We had them all over the surface, and believe it or not, we had a hard time getting them to eat a piece of cut bait, and even when you cast it right on their nose. So sometimes they can be a little skittish, but if you throw that live shrimp, he's going to eat it. I really like to use any of these type of swim baits, because again, with just a hook, you can really keep that in that zone, and right in front of their face, and wiggle it really hard and jerk it around, and it fires them up and gets them to eat it. And when you've got the hook buried in there, because they got some pretty good eyeballs, and a lot of times when they're on the surface, they get a good eyeball on something, and if they see something that's not right, they won't eat it. Now, a lot of times when we're fishing on the buoy, in the buoy line, we're fishing in a lot deeper water, 30, 40, 50 feet, and sometimes 60 feet. And a lot of times the fish are going to be down a little deeper, so you want to use a shrimp imitation.
Something that's got
it's got some weight to it that gets down there and gets into the fish real quick. So, but
that was good, Dave.
Go try to get around those buoys and stuff, and you'll find them.
Tripletail 101, there you go. All right, it's summertime and living's easy in the Garmin Panhandle region, so let's hear where Captain Pat Deneen has us going to catch Dad's dinner this weekend. Talk to us, Pat.
I don't know about easy living, Brie, but I tell you what, living is good up here. I'll tell you, the tripletails, they can be caught throughout the Panhandle region, both inshore and offshore. But Apalachicola is the place to be for tripletail fishing in the Garmin region. Offshore, throughout the area, we're going to find them hanging around floaters like logs, pallets, etc. But it's very random. If you want to target them, hunt the waters around Indian and West Pass, St. Vincent Island, and the Apalachicola Bay as far east as Carabel. Run the crab traps, the navigational markers, the tide lines. Looking for them floating near the surface, you want to use medium to medium heavy spinning tackle rigged with a cork, 2 to 3 feet of 40-pound leader, and a small but strong circle hook. Live shrimp, like Dave just mentioned, is number one bait. Small pogies or other small minnows are also baits of choice. And they're not going to go out of their way to eat your bait. So, cast your rig past where you find the fish. Slowly bring your float back to them. When your float is near the fish, your bait is near the fish, stop it right there and wait on them. And they look slow, but they're extremely strong and definitely one of the best eating fish around. And so there is some really good tripletail fishing in the Apalachicola area. Staying inshore, it's speckled trout, either daytime or nighttime. Daytime, they're on the grass. Nighttime, they're in the lights. Daytime fish, fish live baits on corks. Use liberal live bait chumming to get the fish fired up. Also use the spinning hard baits like a hard twitch bait or a soft plastic. And you want to fish that mottled sand grass bottom. And if you see a lot of mullet around the area, even better. During the day, there's a lot of boat traffic, much less at night. And so the lights have been producing really well. Use free line minnows or live shrimp on a light leader. And nighttime is also very good for using fly fishing tackle, a streamer or a shrimp pattern. Just set up current of the light, let your fly kind of fade into that light pattern, and twist it. So that's been real good moving offshore. The red snapper fishing is still going strong. They're going to be out there on the reefs and the wrecks in 80-plus feet of water. Live baits are best, either cigar minnows, herrings, or small pinfish. You want to nose hook your bait and start high in the water column and just slowly work deeper, deeper, deeper until you start getting bites. A 5/0 circle hook on a slip sinker rig is pretty much the standard setup. There's a picture of Madison Curran with a really nice big snapper. He caught it on a slow fish butterfly jig while fishing on the Entertainer with Captain Jerry Andrews. So you don't need a live bait. You can get by with some lures as well. And finally, offshore, there's a lot of the same places that you've been catching the red snappers. The vermilion snappers are definitely worth targeting. Catch some, especially the bigger ones, on a live bait, just like you're fishing for red snappers. But if you use cut squid or minnows on a 2 or 3 hook chicken rig, you're going to catch a whole lot more vermilion snappers. So while red snapper fishing, definitely have a rod or two fishing with a chicken rig, and those vermilions are some of the best eating snappers out there. So, take the effort to catch some.
All right, thank you so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, fish the bay dock lights at night using live baits on spinning tackle and streamers on flies. And then offshore, red snappers and vermilion snappers on the wrecks and natural bottom in 100+ feet of water. Use live bait for the reds and cut bait for the vermilions.
Are you finished with your snack?
I am.
Okay, your fish bite snack. Yeah, gross.
Yeah.
All right, we have some exciting news hot off the press from CCA Star. If you thought no one would catch one of those tagged redfish, well, think again. CCA Florida Star had a West Marine Star tagged redfish winner. Yes, golf clap this weekend from Fort Pierce. Congratulations. This is amazing. We will have all of the details and we'll speak with the winner on next week's show featuring redfish. And remember, you have to be registered and be a member of CCA like our angler from Fort Pierce. And if you are fishing anywhere in Florida, you still have the opportunity to win a Pathfinder or a spider boat with a Yamaha motor and trailer, but you can't win if you are not registered. So go to ccaflstar.com and register today. Okay. And right behind us, more on CCA, this is your weekly reminder that if you'd like a chance to win this exact 1952 Chevy 3100 hot rod, all you have to do is purchase raffle tickets at ccaflorida.org/hot rod. Send this guy a nice thank you when you win. All right, coming up, we're casting into the Real Legends Central East region and discover Crystal River Northwest region. Plus, we're talking with our friend from Plantation Inn on Crystal River, so stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, your fish, our science, Bajío, fresh eyes for a rich life, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours, Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's largest Kubota dealer. Visit one of our 4 locations or online at floridacoasteq.com. And Garmin, plot your paradise.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
Real Legends Performance Outfitters. All you need to feel comfortable on the water all day. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Real Legends Performance Outfitters. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime. Go to reallegends.com to find a store near you. The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi Sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wind is perfect for any surf challenge. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
Joining me is Rosemary White from the Plantation Inn on Crystal River. Rosemary, you know, not only is Crystal River famous for manatees as well as springs, as well as some great fishing, but there's also got a real good kept secret. So why don't you tell everybody at home about it?
Yes, thank you, Rick, for having me. So our next big season, we liken to an Easter egg hunt under the water, and that is our scallop season.
Oh, yeah.
That starts July 1st through September 24th.
So let's talk a little bit about the plantation. You know, there's some really cool accommodations there, but more importantly, if you think you want to come scalloping, what do we have to offer?
So we cater pretty much to everyone. The resort itself has 196 rooms. That goes from kings to doubles to Gulf villas to junior suites. And then we have our on-site dive shop that can provide anyone with everything that they would ever need to go on a scalloping trip.
So they can rent their masks, their snorkels, whether they're advanced or beginner, but then can they rent a guide there?
Yes, they can. So you can come with your own boat, rent everything at the dive shop and go yourself if you wanted. In that way, though, you will be responsible for your own fishing license. If you chose to do a charter with us, we have a U.S. Coast Guard certified captain and an in-water guide. And that is complete, pretty much turnkey to include breakfast, a cook your catch, and your fishing license.
Wonderful. So let's get back to the plantation. One of my favorite places up there to stay for sure. We got pools?
Huge lagoon style pool with a hot tub.
Nice. All right. So what about if I'm hungry?
3 eateries right on site.
All right, and then what about if you are an adult and you want to have one of those so-called beverages?
Well, our plantation punch is available on our outdoor tiki deck, or if you prefer something a little bit more cozy, we have an indoor bar as well.
I love it. All right, so why don't you tell everybody that's watching where they can get more information about the plantation?
Absolutely, www.plantationoncrystalriver.com.
You did really well. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Bree, we got to go to another region, so where would that be?
Yes, we do. Well, I caught my first tripletail in the Real Legends Central East region with Captain Jim Ross, and there have been many caught there since. So, Jim, tell us how we're going to catch one of those tasty prehistoric-looking creatures.
Well, in most cases, it's just like you caught your first one with me, Bree, and that's sight casting to them while they're standing, floating under some debris. But, tripletail are such a mysterious fish. They can show up just about anywhere at any time of the year. But, like we were just talking about, they're usually around some form of floating debris. Now, we have some giant fish that show up in the fall and the wintertime, and you can catch them just about any month of the year, though. Not always big, but they are, often there. Tripletail, they look like trash floating in the water. It's amazing how many people that I'll say, hey, there's a tripletail right there, cast to it. And they go, where? All I see is that junk floating in the water. Well, that junk is what I want you to throw the shrimp at, because that's what's going to eat the shrimp. That's the tripletail. So people don't really understand sometimes how these fish blend in, and that's part of the mystery of those fish, is they just blend in so well. But you can find them around all kinds of things, channel markers, buoys, any kind of vertical structure in the water, you can generally find them. Our average fish is about 15 to 20 inches, but there's a lot of fish that are up into that 30-inch range, and we have fish that'll sometimes scale into the 30-pound range. So we've got some giant ones here. Now, I've got a little photo of Skylar, first-time triple-tailer, just like yourself there, Bree, that we got her out last week. She had a fun time sight casting for that fish. It was around a piece of floating rope that just happened to be floating out in the ocean. And then I've got a second picture here of my good friend Dave Marshall with a nice tripletail that he caught with me earlier this year.
What else you got for us this week, Jim?
King mackerel, Rick, and we like catching those big smokers, and I'll tell you what, right now we have got no big smokers. We've got a bunch of little fish on the reefs right now, but every day the fish are going to get bigger and bigger. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look to this region's beaches. My Real Legend beaches are going to light up with smoker kingfish here in the next couple of weeks. And those big fish come inshore to feed on ribbonfish, croakers, pogies, pilchards, all of those sorts of things. Those are all great baits to put on a 2-hook stinger rig. And anywhere from the Vero Cove to Sebastian Inlet tide line is really good. The muddy water line outside of Patrick Air Force Base and Canova Beach is really good as well. And then up off of Playa Linda Beach, and of course the shipping channel there at Canaveral can hold some big fish in it. I've caught 10 fish over 40 pounds in the last 2 years in that shipping channel. So there's some giants that stay right there close to home. You don't have to go far. Now swinging inshore, snook right there at the jetties at Canaveral is another fish that you can catch. But you know what? You can catch them anywhere at any time. It's amazing how many snook we have in our region right now. I've seen guys fly fishing in ditches on Merritt Island catching them. I've seen them coming out of the creeks, rivers, in the Sebastian River, Turkey Creek, Crane Creek, places like that. The docks and mangroves anywhere throughout my region are holding fish right now, or have the potential to hold fish, especially if you got glass minnows around them or finger mullet around them. And you want to use those type of baits, those mullet, pilchards, croakers work really good. Shrimp work good under a light at nighttime. And right at first light, artificial lures will get them to strike, especially a walk the dog style plug. But some of the hot spots right now are, especially for the underslot fish, are those backwater docks around the Ponce Inlet area and the spoil islands from Vero Beach to Sebastian Inlet. All of those areas are holding good ones right now, as well as Satellite Beach, Merritt Island, and a few other of those residential canals. Our snook are running 18 to 25 inches in the backwaters, but right now some of the bigger fish have moved back out of the inlets and into those backwaters, and you're finding some big fish up into the 40-inch range on the flats and around spoil islands, especially from Melbourne down through Vero. And my last species is speckled trout. And our region is known for speckled trout, and the bite continues to be good on most days. Right now, the fish are moving around a lot, though, and sometimes they'll move over a mile or sometimes even a mile and a half up or down the flat in a day's time. So you need to find the bait. That's your key. Throw topwater plugs around the bait early in the morning. Throw 5-inch assassins, jerk baits, midday, mid-morning, midday, and that bait, that 5-inch assassin, is money on some of those bigger fish. Now, right now, some of the best colors are my favorite, the native shiner, and then also the opening night. Both of those seem to be getting the job done. And if you need a go-to big gator trout lure, that saltwater assassin 5-inch bait will do it. Right now, most of our fish are running about 17 to 20 inches, but we've got a lot of fish in that mid 20-inch range. And here's one that Joe Rivera caught with me the other morning in the Banana River while we were out there scouting around looking for those mullet pods.
Quickly, Jim, tell me how you like to twitch that saltwater assassin 5-inch jerkbait.
Well, if the water's clear, I like to work it fast, like an underwater walk-the-dog style retrieve, and make it really jerk and jump around. If the water's a little dirty, a little murky, slow it down with more of an up and down twitch, more like you would be working a jig, and let it flutter and then lift up fast and then flutter back down. And you normally get that hit on that fall.
All right, good stuff. It's time to take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Central East region. He says inshore, the Mosquito Lagoon, for slot-sized redfish and black drum is going to be the place to be. Use live or cut shrimp on an 1/8-ounce jig head. And then offshore, you might want to try for a king mackerel on 70 to 90-foot reefs, slow troll live pilchards, or menhaden on a wire stinger rig. Stinger.
Ow. All right, it's time to get your Real Legends on, like Rick and I have here, ladies and gents, because now through June 22nd, get 40% off Real Legends apparel for the entire family, just in time for Dad's Day this Sunday. So head over to reallegends.com to shop your little hearts out. What do you think about that?
I think that I dressed up a little bit for Father's Day.
You did. You look very elegant.
I wore their little convertibles. They're Real Legends. I love them.
You can go from, dinner party to fish party in 2 seconds.
Come on.
All right, it's time for the Discover Crystal River Northwest Region Report with Captain Jeff Hageman, who has a hankering for some tripletail meat. So listen up to get your hands on some as well. Talk to us, Hag.
Tripletail, we've got them throughout my region, and it is one of my top 5 for table fare. Love eating those guys. They're great table fare. A lot of fun to target, too. They're mainly targeted around and fished around any kind of floating structure like everybody's been talking about. Crab trap buoys, channel markers, floating grass, debris. They'll sit behind just about anything that's floating, looking for an easy meal to come to them. Big thing in our area is driving stone crab traps. When the stone crab traps are out there, it's probably the most popular way to target them. Elevated either in a tower boat or getting up higher in your boat, driving the trap lines. Now, most of the trap lines are pretty straight, and you'll see guys working other trap lines. You want to get in the line, start working it, just keep your boat on the plane. Once you see a fish and you drive past them, big key is keep going. Don't stop as soon as you see them. Just mark the trap in your mind, go past it 100 yards or so, then come back and make a nice stealthy approach with either a trolling motor or drift out on it. Tripletail won't dive to the bottom. Usually when you drive by them and keep the same speed, you change your RPMs, they're going to dive down to the bottom. So slow down. After you get past it, come double back, stealthy approach, not to scare them off. Live shrimp, sardine, and or cork is hard for them to resist. And artificials go. Any kind of shrimp imitation, and fly rods are also a great way to catch them. Catch them really good like that. Staying offshore, the mangrove snapper bite continues to be outstanding throughout the region right now. High relief structures, reefs continue to produce lots of fish, anywhere from 25 feet out to 60 feet of water. Live shrimp, small sardines, small pinfish on a knocker rig is the go-to baits. Anywhere from 20 to 30 pound test fluorocarbon leader, and a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce egg sinker is the way to go with them. Moving inshore, Captain John Lane with JB Charters out of Apalachicola reports his redfish bite's been really good. The mouth of the rivers right now and the marsh edges. The bite seems to be better right at daylight and right before sunset. He's mainly using live finger mullet and pinfish. Moving down to Tampa Bay, Captain Jamie Goodwin with GoFloridaFishing.com reports a really good redfish bite in Tampa Bay right now on the top of the tide. Fish have been a little spooky on the lower tide, so don't rush into your favorite spot. Wait till that tide gets high as it possibly can get. The fish will be more comfortable and less spooky and not on the move. Cut live bait has been working well. Jamie's also targeting flats right now with mullet schools and potholes, finding these schooling redfish. Most of the fish right now have been oversized. Staying inshore, Captain Jason Lineberger of Ruthless Fishing Charters out of Tampa Bay reports a good tarpon bite right now along St. Pete and Clearwater beaches in the early morning hours, and then around Egmont and the Skyway Bridge in the mid-morning and afternoon hours. Crabs, threadfins have been the bait of choice on that 7/0 and 8/0 Trocar circle hook with 6 feet of 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader. And I've got a great photo of Becky with a nice West Coast tarpon.
All right, nice job, Hag. I got one question for you now. We're talking about a tarpon leader for a crab, with your eagle claw circle hook. You're gonna have your braid. Are you putting some leader in between your bite leader? Tell me quickly how that works.
Well, if I'm using a float, sometimes I'll use a slip rig. So on that slip rig, I'll go from a double line to basically an Albright off of that double line with a stretch of 40 with that R&R float with a bead on each side of it. And then I'll have about 6 to 8 feet of that 40 and then a bite guard of 60 to 80 that's about 12 to 18 inches long. And that enables me to reel that cork in within 18 inches of my crab, and I can reel that leader all the way up to my rod tip and make a long cast with it and pitch it out and have that slip float work really well with that Trocar circle hook.
That sounds like a good rigs and technique. Me and Farrell will have to call you about that. That'd be a cool one to show. All right, bud, thank you so much. We are going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. He says that redfish on the top of the tide and the beginning of the outgoing tide. Look for the mullet schools, cut bait, and live sardines for those redfish. And then offshore, mangrove snapper. The bite has been consistent in 25 to 65 feet of water over high relief structure. Use shrimp and small pinfish on a knocker rig for bait, Brie.
Yeah, that was quite the tarpon rig recipe there.
Yeah,
he had. Sounded good. All right, the Alvey Reels Northeast region is showing its hand to us next, and Dave Farrell is showing us some Taco Marine new products at the CCA Workbench. I see some last-minute gift ideas for Dad.
Yeah, a bunch of cool stuff up here, and also a really cool rod for Dad.
We like cool rods.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be back.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Yamaha's reputation for saltwater reliability is driven by the 4.2-liter V6 Offshore's 97% reliability and overall performance. Reimagined with new advantages like built-in digital electric steering for incredible responsiveness and exhaust rerouting for more powerful reverse thrust. The legacy of the reliable Yamaha 4.2-liter V6 continues, now more refined and capable than ever. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide-and-seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Well, it's time for the Taco Marine new products here at the CCA Workbench. You know,
sir.
Dave, we're going to troll the edge of the bench. So
Yeah,
let's
and we're
going to
start off with a Taco Marine product. Why not?
Oh, okay, cool.
We got the quick release fender lock there, and what that does is you can attach your fender to this little piece over here and get it all adjusted. And when you get back to the boat, you've already mounted this into your boat right next to the gunnel. So when you go to dock up the boat, you just run and grab your fenders. It's already got this. You have it already attached on there. Just stick it in that hole and lock it down, and it'll stay in there all the way. Push it all the way down.
It's all the way down.
Yeah, and it'll lock right in there.
And then when you get ready to go,
exactly,
easy, quick release.
Exactly, to take all your fenders off and stow them up in the front. That's all you have to do, and it's made out of really good stuff. You know, all stainless steel. It's got a nice the drain plug in the bottom, so you know you won't fill up with water and rot. So you know it's single hand operation. It'll fit up to a 7/8 inch rope through there, so you can use big fenders with it.
Right.
And go to tacomarine.com to
make
sure your boat
cool
is safe
stuff
alongside the boat, or alongside the dock. So next we got the Fenwick HM6 Inshore HMG. I'm sorry. HMG is high modulus graphite rod. It's got a 30-ton modulus graphite in there. It's got a really cool spiral wrapped blank. It's called the carbon bound, which they put a carbon fiber, bound it all the way from end to end, and it's got Fuji guides with the alkanite rings in them, so they're really hard and durable. What's really cool about this, it's got a Sea Guide soft touch. It's called an alien reel seat, and what it does is it locks down very securely with a double lock.
Right.
But it also puts the reel seat really close to the rod, and you also are able to hold on to the blank through the bottom with your other finger as well.
Correct.
To keep your finger on there and feel right here's where the rod's coming through the seat, so you can actually feel anything that taps on the end of that rod, which is really neat. And it's got it's a 7 foot long, medium fast, cast an 8 to 1 ounce lure, holds 8 to 20 pound test monofilament, or up to 15 to 30 pound braid.
I've been using these for my plug casting for the last 6 months. Perfect.
Yeah, it's stiff. It's a nice stiff
You can
rod.
be used as one-handed, or it's long enough here that if you want to throw overhand and throw real long, you can also
AAA premium
two-hand.
cork on there, stuff that you find on a much more expensive reel than it is. Go to fenwickfishing.com.
All right.
And you can find out that. Next, we got the Retrax sunglass system, and what this is, I got them on right here. It's a stainless steel wire that retracts and goes through. And actually, this is the locking one, so it will lock at different, wherever you want it to stop.
Different lengths.
You just keep it pulling out. Universal fit, very lightweight, keeps your glasses secure, keeps them on. What happens to most sunglasses is you leave them somewhere because you don't have a retainer on them. If once you have a retainer, you stop leaving them in restaurants and around everywhere.
How do you make it retract?
Hey, just give it a little. Like that. Just pull it out a little bit and it goes right back.
Nice.
They make them with the locking or non-locking. If you don't like the locking ones, you don't like them hanging down, you want them to go all zip up, you can use those too. bbtinnovations.com. You can get the Retrax.
Oh, it even has the great directions on the back for dummies like me.
But really good. Stainless steel. It's very lightweight. You don't even know they're there.
This is the
really
Mogan
cool.
Man.
Exactly.
The Mogan Man.
Exactly.
Blair Wiggins. That's his new
our
product.
good buddy. Jayla and Jackson swimsuits. These I met Emily Griffin in Australia when she was running a big mothership operation for me called The Boss. I was doing in Marlin University, and I hired her for the week, and I just became pretty good friends with her and Danny, who was a mate on one of the other ships, and they actually got together on that trip. And she's actually doing these really cool swimsuits for children now, hand-drawn designs from Emily's life at sea. She knows a lot about marlin and sail fishing because she hosted quite a lot of some of the best guys in the world. UPF 50 keeps the kids active and outside, which she's all about. It's only one of the brands I know of that has a lot of marlins and sailfish on them. Comes in all different sizes, got little shorts there, little onesies, and zip-ups, so it's a lot easier to get in and out of them, even though they're a little tight there. But you know how kids can squirm.
UPS, right, Dave?
UPF 50, yep.
UPF.
Right,
You said
right.
UPS.
Did I? Did I say UPS?
It's all right, man.
Anyway, if you type in FIFR, you get 15% off when you go to JaylaandJackson.com to order these for the kids.
JaylaandJackson.com.
Yeah, Jayla and Jackson. That's the name of her babies, and they're beautiful.
I love it. Beautiful stuff. Good job tonight over here, man.
No worries,
Here's your
man.
glasses back. Bree, where we going,
Dave
man?
is spot on with women's and children's clothing, I promise you. Well, the
These are for
Albee
you,
Reels Northeast region has quite the lineup for all the papas out there this weekend. So Captain Tommy D, super dad of 3 girls himself, tell us what we're catching.
That's right, Brie. Well, hey, the Albee Sidecast Reels Northeast region, we're not really known as a hot spot for our themed species, the tripletail, but we do get our fair share of them, and most of those bigger tripletail, they're going to be caught in the spring along the beach when the water temperature is somewhere around 68 to about 72 degrees. Now, we tend to see them around the same time the cobia and the manta rays are migrating through. And just like I'm sure all other captains have reported, those tripletails are going to hang out around any kind of floating debris. Now, sometimes the commercial crabbers, they'll set some of their traps out in the surf, and when that happens, we can have a really great run, as just about every one of those crab trap buoys is going to have a tripletail on it. Now, you can also catch tripletail in the ICW by, again, targeting crab trap buoys, dock pilings, channel markers, just about any kind of high relief structure. Now, we've actually caught quite a few over the years just as a bycatch when we're fishing for redfish, like using popping corks along the grass lines at high tide. And that can happen pretty much year-round. Now, live shrimp is the best bait, but we catch quite a few on small bass assassin paddle tails and other shrimp and minnow imitations. Now, tripletails are so much fun. They're typically really aggressive on both the bite and the fight, and that comes when they're around, they're definitely one of my favorite fish to target. I love the tripletail. Now, staying inshore, guys, the tarpon, they continue to show up in better numbers this week. In fact, they've really shown up really good here the last couple of days. The pogies are scattered on the beach throughout the region, and the tarpon are crushing those baits early in the morning and then again at dusk and right after the thunderstorms that we've been having. Now, some people like to float a pogie around those schools of bait, but for me, I prefer just to free line them using a 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 6 to 9/0 trocar circle hook, depending on the size of that bait. Now, the shrimp boats, they've also been holding some tarpon. And the sharks, they're super thick back behind those shrimp boats right now. But if you hang around in those bycatch slicks, you have a good chance of seeing a tarpon in there as well. Those tarpon behind the shrimp boats, they're going to eat just about anything. It's much more about getting the bait in the right spot for that tarpon to see it in that situation. You're going to want to lead that fish. You want to make sure that you don't cast that bait right on its head because those tarpon will spook. Now, the smaller tarpon, they're also loaded up in the canals, especially in the south end of the region from Daytona to Palm Coast. Those smaller tarpon like a large live shrimp, a small mullet, or a mud minnow, and I do like to put those under a cork. But now back to the bigger tarpon. I've got a photo here. This is a picture that I took of my good buddy Breck Sloan with a big tarpon that he hooked in the ICW in St. Augustine last week. Now moving offshore, guys, the mangrove snapper are going to be spawning on this upcoming full moon that we have early next week and probably over this weekend as well. Now, starting this weekend, look for those mangoes to be grouped up over the reefs and wrecks in about 120 to 140 foot, pretty much throughout the region. Nighttime, it can be the best time as they are definitely less leader shy at that point, and you can really get them up in the water column by chumming with some cut sardines. I spoke to Captain Adam Jeffrey from Real Dream Charters in St. Augustine. He tells me the mangoes are already fired up. They're so fired up that he's been catching them on some of his bigger grouper bait. Now, Captain Adam said that when they're not on the surface, he likes to use as light a weight as possible to get to the bottom, with a minimum of about a 10-foot leader on a Carolina rig with a small 5 to 6/0, smaller 5 to 6/0 circle hook. Now, Adam said he really likes to target the deeper water natural bottom, but he said they'll also get thick on the artificial reef spots as well with this full moon coming up. And he said from here to the end of summer, they should bite pretty good. But again, around those full moons, even better. And I've got another picture. Captain Adam sent me this picture of his client with a couple of nice mango snappers from last week. Now, staying offshore, I'll talk about kingfish. The kingfish bite all summer long, and it continues to be pretty good right now. The nearshore stuff, it's still happening, but there's been some really nice fish caught along the beach this past week as well. That old school kingfish shootout was last weekend, and there were some fish, I think 38 pounds or so, won that thing. So there's a few fish just under 40 pounds weighed in. Slow trolling live pogies or ribbon fish, especially around those pogie pods, that's going to be the go-to. You can either put them up top or have them down on the downrigger. And I got one last picture here, guys. This isn't a kingfish. It's a big wahoo, but it was caught while kingfishing by Captain Jacob Hardy this week. They were trolling at 9 Mile Reef for the kingfish when this big guy showed up. That's an awesome and rare catch in that shallow for us here in the Northeast region.
Man, I love the fact, Brie, that's caught on a bay boat. That's so cool. All right, Tommy, you did a great job this week. We're sorry we missed your pretty face, but we understand the conditions. Inshore, tarpon along the beaches in pogie pods. The best bite has been early in the morning and then again at dusk and after the thunderstorms. And then offshore, a great mixed bag of fish in 100-foot water, triggerfish, groupers, amberjacks, etc. Mangroves and vermilion snappers are also spawning. So check it out.
You missed Tommy's pretty face. That's cute. All right, keep those bajios on with eyes wide open because we're looking for Tripletail in the Startron Central West and Alto Equipment Company Keys regions when we come back. And to keep up with everything fishing, there you go, in Florida, make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel. What is it again?
Captain Rick Murphy.
We'll see you soon.
Come on. Just tell you one more time.
Okay.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Alvi Reels, a better way to fish. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. We are the Fish Bites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some fish bites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures, or visit fishbites.com.
Come explore untouched Florida, where you'll step into holy sea cow and fish pristine waters where you'll reel in, whoa! Come discover Crystal River with exciting adventures and incredible surprises everywhere. From exhilarating river adventures to scalloping in the Gulf to delicious fish to fork cuisine, this is the place where you can relax into Just a short drive from Tampa and Orlando is the amazing Discover Crystal River, Florida. Learn more at discovercrystalriverfl.com.
Service and reliability makes Alta Equipment the leader for all your construction equipment needs. With 7 locations across Florida and preferred brands like Volvo, Toro, Talk, Avant, and Roadtech, Alta has the equipment to get the job done. When I need equipment, I trust Alta. From agriculture to landscape to construction, Alta has you covered. For sales, rentals, service, and parts, see your local Alta Equipment dealer today or call them at 844-GO-TO-ALTA.
The Star John Central West region has plenty of options for pops to catch, and Tripletail is one of them. So let's listen to Captain Jeff Page and see what his suggestions are. Paige, what's up?
You like my shirt?
Got Paige.
I
Really?
love it. I want one of those.
That is so awesome.
I've been saving this one. But hey, you know what?
Love you.
In the Startron Central West region, we have a heck of a tripletail fishery. And I heard Jimmy mentioning that it's a year-round thing. Yes, you can find them year-round, but our peak months, Rick, are November through February. That's when those migrating fish push down from the Panhandle, and some will stay in our region if the conditions are right. That's why I give such a big window on the peak season, because when it's a mild winter with not a lot of cold fronts, I've seen those fish stay right through February, even into March. What happens in October is all the stone crabbers put their traps out in the Gulf, and there can be as many as 5,000 traps out there. And some of the traps will be in as close as a half mile off the beach, all the way out to 7 or 8 miles. I like to start 30 or 40 feet, and I like to pick a line of traps that have some barnacles and seaweed on them, and there's going to at least be 50 to 100 traps in a row. That's going to give me a good shot at spotting a tripletail. And don't expect to see one on every buoy, but if you run 50 to 100 traps, you should see 4 or 5 tripletails. If you don't, you want to move out or in a little. Remember the weight, the depth that you're in, and that'll help you the next time you go. If you like throwing lures at them, a slow sinking, like a fish bite shrimp on a light 1/8 ounce or 1/16 ounce jig head, or even a weedless hook will work really well, because it's going to fall slowly and allow that tripletail time to key in on it. If you're using live bait, it's tough to beat a live pilchard, a small pinfish, or a nice hand-picked shrimp. What I like to do is cast past the buoy, reel it to the buoy, and let it drop. Because if you see one up on the buoy, a lot of times there's going to be 2 or 3 below it. Another thing, remember, is if you get on a line of trap with brand new rope and corks and you're not seeing any, get to one with some barnacles and grass on it. It'll make all the difference. Anyway, I've got a couple photos tonight. First one is of Hunter S. Broom, sight fishing master with a big tripletail he caught this winter. And then my second one is the Florida flavor gal, Alex McMullen, with 2 big tripletails I think she got with her dad.
That's ridiculous.
That's beautiful, man.
Good
That's
job, girl.
awesome. All right.
She's quite the angler. She really is. And I think she's like a professional downhill snow skier as well.
What? Girl, we got some things in common. We got to talk. Okay, go.
There you go. Anyway, staying inshore, tarpon fishing. We've had some west winds this week, Rick, but the tarpon fishing's still been pretty decent because it hasn't been blown out. You know what? Guys that don't mind a little bit of a swell, they're going to be able to get out there and catch a few. Our winds are supposed to shift back to the east by the weekend, and we'll be more on a normal pattern. Live pinfish, thread fins, and crabs have been getting the job done. Sometimes free line, sometimes cork. So my suggestion is put one out free line, put one out on a cork. And then in the afternoon outgoing tides, on that big hill tide, live cork under a crab near any of our inlets are going to get the job done. And I've got a photo tonight of a good friend of the show, Captain Billy Big Game Ahlstrom of Suncoast Fishing Star Charters, and his crew right there at Longboat Pass with a big old tarpon they got.
Tell me about the offshore, bub. Quickly, you gotta
Offshore
go.
red and gag groupers. Since they've opened the gag, it's been like a mixed bag. I had to include the red in with the gag because a lot of my offshore captains have been filling the box with both species, and the red grouper seemed to be a little deeper, but you know what? Live pinfish, live blue runners, frozen sardines will get all three of them, and you're gonna have Captain Tim No of Offshore Ventures been living out, and Captain Brian Alcorn and Jason Stock on the north part of the region have been scoring real well. Got a couple gag photos, one of a nice catch on the dock before they started filleting them. And then I've got a really cool shot of Melissa Powell with one she got with her husband offshore off Venice. And that's a real gag right there.
All right, Paige, we gotta go. We're out of time, bub.
right.
So we'll get the mangrove snappers next week. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. He says, we gonna go look at Paige, or we gonna just go ahead and go to the hotspots? Inshore, nighttime snook fishing at the Rod and Reel Pier and Anna Maria has been good. Use live pinfish, free line, or on a knocker rig, depending on the tide movement. And then offshore, red snappers. Awesome bite going on in 130 to 160 feet of water. Live pinfish, thread fins on the bottom rig will get the job done. You can't have 6 pictures and get it all done.
Got Paige?
Got Paige.
Yep,
You guys
we
got
do.
Paige.
All right, Dad, we'll cross off a few species on the old bucket list this weekend in the Alto Equipment Company Keys region. So let's hear from Captain Randy Tao to see how and what we'll be targeting.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, in the Alta Equipment region, Tripletail is a really popular fish this time of year. The summer months, we find them offshore, mainly around floating debris, and we also find them in the backcountry, Florida Bay, just floating on the surface. So you really want to keep your eyes open for a couple of things. Offshore, if you pull up to a piece of floating debris and there's a big tripletail there, chances are that hasn't been hit. There's going to be dolphin. You're going to have a lot going on. A live shrimp really works the best for these things offshore and in the backcountry as well. They really like that, but they will eat a piece of cut bait, something small. And remember, they're 18 inches, so that's a pretty good-sized tripletail that's legal to keep, so just keep that in mind. Now, the backcountry, they could be anywhere. You know, on an incoming tide, you're going to find these fish floating in from the Gulf. They could be in Florida Bay. They could be out toward the Everglades National Park boundaries. You just never know. There are no stone crab pots right now, so there's nothing for them to really hide behind. And you're looking for their white bellies, and you're looking for them up on the surface, especially those calm days where you can get into them. I love to get back there, drop my Rodan trolling motor, and look around for them. And oftentimes, you will find them floating up next to you as you're looking, and you would not be able to find those fish if your big motor was running. So that Rodan trolling motor really comes in handy. That's what I like to do when I'm targeting tripletails. I've got a photo of Blaine and his wife Susan from Idaho with some big tripletails we caught a few days ago.
Nice. All right, what else inshore?
Snook fishing this time of year, you know, they're big. That's why the season's closed. And I have been talking to the guys up on top of the flats around Flamingo in the backcountry, and they had some pretty good fishing. Now, the last few days, it's tapered off, and that's telling me that maybe these fish are starting to move out a little bit, maybe moving along some of the beaches and shorelines. And this time of year, it's not uncommon to catch oversized fish. I like to fish live bait like a pinfish or a pilchard on a jig head. 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce is usually what I'm fishing. And you can certainly get into them this time of year, and they're usually on the bigger side, which is a lot of fun. And you want to handle them pretty careful because they are spawning fish. and you just want to make sure you get them back in the water or keep them in the water when you're taking a hook out. And I've got a photo of Eve Smith from Atlanta with a big snook she caught over the weekend.
Nice. All right, let's go offshore, bub.
You know, it's dolphin season. I would say it's full on right now because everybody going offshore, that's what they're looking for. It's mostly on birds, reading those birds. We always talk about that. It's really important. I've talked to guys in 400 feet. I've talked to guys in 1,200 feet. And it really depends on what you find and where you're fishing. If you're in Key Largo, Marathon, every place is a little bit different. But certainly you want to pay attention to your surroundings, birds, weeds, things like that. It seems like they're just the key lately in finding where the dolphin are. Now, don't overlook a piece of debris. You never know. A pallet, a tree, anything floating can certainly have dolphin around it. And you want to be prepared. That's one of the key things I talk about. You can't tie a hook on when you get into a school of dolphin. You better have everything ready to go because it is 0 to 60 pretty quick. And you always want to be ready if that big fish pops up. You know, a lot of times you're catching schoolies and a 40-pounder will swim up to the boat. You better have a rod ready to go. So that's why that's important. Captain Paul Ross, he's got a charter boat, the Relentless, out of Bud and Mary's. He was dolphin fishing a few days ago. And, you know, we talk about bull dolphin, cow dolphin, mainly bulls being the biggest. But he's got a photo of this 44-pound cow dolphin.
Wow, that's a big cow. All right, tell us about the yellowtails, Poppy.
You know, yellowtailing on the reef, one of my favorite things to do this time of year. They've been cooperating nicely. Now, they have a little an attitude on what they're biting. Some days they like fresh cut bait. Some days they like shrimp. It's been kind of all over the board what they're into. And 70 to 100 feet of water has been kind of the best depth to get into them. You want to have some current. Current is always in your favor because that acts as a conveyor belt, and it lets your chum carry down the reef, and it brings those fish to you. So you want to be patient as well. And the yellowtailing, there's a little trick to it as far as your tackle. Scale your tackle down, 10 to 12-pound line. You know, if you go too heavy, sometimes you don't get a bite. And it's really the difference between the lighter line and the heavier line. And a couple of days ago, I was on the reef, and I found it interesting. We had a good yellowtail bite going, and then it stopped. So I had some fish bites on the boat, and I started cutting up a piece of fish bites and put it on a number 4 hook, and I dropped it back, and we ended up catching our limit of yellowtails. I've got a picture to prove it, and it was a great trick.
All right, good job with the fish bites experiment, bud. I got more of that for you when you're ready. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hotspots from the Keys region. He says, inshore, tripletails, look for their white bellies floating on the surface, or also look for the fish facing down with their black tails just under the water. And then offshore, dolphin, look for the birds in 400 feet on out. You have your rods and bait ready so that when you see the fish, you'll be ready for the dolphins. Be patient and look for the bull while you're catching those schoolies, Brie.
All right, Rick, coinciding with the annual Hemingway Day celebration, it's time to sign up for the Key West Marlin Tournament, July 21st through the 24th in Key West. With $50,000 in guaranteed cash prizes, registration is limited to the first 75 boats, so head on over to keywestmarlin.com to secure your spot. And we will be right back right here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
All right.
Bye.
Fish bites, magic.
It works.
Yeah.
Smashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. Oh.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Fish for the World. Noble Air Charters. Raising the bar yet again. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Everything you need to live life local. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
At Florida Coast Equipment, we understand you don't work banker's hours. So neither do we. You have a business to run, you have a family to feed, and you need your machine up and running. So our service team and our parts department will be there. If that means we have to stay late, we'll do it. If we have to start early, we'll do it. Because at the end of the day, you want equipment you can depend on and people you can trust, and we have a service team that will be there to service you.
Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now. Today's power pole tip is about utilizing your power poles and making yourself fish more patient. Now understand, guys, it's really important that you utilize the power poles to slow your fishing down. The fish are gonna feel a pressure wave even if you're in a technical poling skiff that's very light. So as you approach a small bay, make sure that you power pole down and let that wave go out in front of you. Sit there for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And what that allows you to do is the fish get used to the pressure of the weight of the boat as it's in the bay. In 2001, when I was first introduced to the power poles, it was in the IFA Redfish Championship, utilizing the power poles and power poling down, fan casting from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock and then around to 3 o'clock, picking up the power poles, moving 60 feet. Utilizing that idea allowed us to come in 5th place in that championship, and that was my first exposure to what made power poles allow me to dissect a bay. So be more patient, don't be in a hurry, and that's today's power pole tip of the week. You know, Brie, just being able to slow down the boat and control the boat is everything.
Right. All right, Captain Ronnie Houston is up next in the Real Legends Southwest region, and he has more tips and tricks to get you on your catch of the summer. So let's get him on the line and close us out.
Well, Brie, like always, it's always grateful being here. And second of all, gotta wish all those dads out there a happy Father's Day. Special weekend coming up, so guys and gals, get your dad out there fishing. Tripletail, you know, they can be caught in a variety of ways, both inshore and offshore throughout the region. Now, some things that play a key role could be current, tide lines, and some type of structure. Now, most of the time, tripletail can be sight fished, but also can be caught off the bottom. Want to concentrate on the offshore side on wrecks, and the tide line are good places to look. Inshore, concentrate on your efforts along crab pots, markers, and even swim buoys, or even floating regulatory buoys. Blowdowns and flats that have good current flowing across them. And simply baits of choice, especially for sight fishing them, which is the most common, would be live shrimp, pilchards, finger mullet, or even small cut baits presented to them sight fishing. A variety of artificials would be simply bucktail stipwood shrimp, or something like the Bass Assassin soft plastic shrimp, or paddle tail on a jig head. And I got a picture of a nice tripletail caught with Captain Brian Sanders down in the southern end of the region. Still on the inshore side, the snook. Captain Corey McGuire to the north has been fished, says snook fishing's been good along the beaches, especially from Big Carlos Pass to Sanibel. He's telling me you want to concentrate on fishing the deep troughs against the beach, and the key is going to be not only those troughs, but those troughs where those key bait schools are at. You can fish whitebait or downsized smaller swim baits to match the hatch. Further to the south, Coon Key to Indian Key, fish are still ganging up on the outside points because the water's still clear, but we are starting to get a lot of rain. Once you locate them, staying off them, chumming with live pilchards. If you can't find no pilchards, try some live pinfish on knocker rigs, or simply use walk the dog, Berkeley hijackers, or jaywalkers, walk the dog lures in either bone or chrome, And I got a couple of pictures of somebody Rick might be familiar with that's involved with the CCA membership, a couple nice snooks caught down there while fishing with Captain Brian Sanders. Now on the offshore side, the permit. Gordon's Pass to Sanibel fishing most noted structure and artificial reefs along the Collier County line by anchoring up somewhere in and around the structure. But instead of anchoring up, you can also use a spot box mode on your trolling motor and simply move around the different areas of the wreck to figure out where these fish are, might be on the structure. That way, if you do hook a permit, you don't have to unhook the anchor. You just simply hit your button and chase those permit down. And you might also want to figure out where they are in the water column and drift across several times with your trolling motor. Use one crab, weighted and unweighted. Nice permits being caught right now with Captain Corey McGuire. I got a nice picture shown of some permit caught up in the northern end of the region. And the last species is going to be the red snappers, being that it's open. Captain Mike Avedon and Corey McGuire both are giving me pretty good exact reports, both giving reports stating from Wiggins Pass to Boca Grande, depths right now are 130 to 160 feet. Now, the tides have been light in the last week, so the bite can be slow on the lighter tides. You want to have patience. But what you want to try to do, according to both these captains, is you can start by using cut squid or herring to get the bite going. Have some live pinfish or cigar minnows. Drop them down after you start getting these fish going with the cut baits. But on the faster tides, the cut baits seem to be working good, such as squid, herring, and sardines. It's also working. It's the slower tides that tend to be tough. Live baits will help you. I got a nice picture of some red snapper that were recently caught with Captain Mike Avedon. I'd like to throw a little plug out to Chris Brill with the Roland Martin Marine Series, as he threw a nice plug out at the tournament over the weekend saying how he relies on the Florida Insider Fishing Report in the Southwest region. So Chris Brill and the Roland Martin Marine Series, you guys are really doing a professional job over there.
All right, good shout out, Ronnie. We appreciate your hard work and batting clean up for us. But it is time for the Catty Can Hotspots from the Southwest region. He says that inshore redfish, North Matlacha Pass to Pirates Harbor, deeper shorelines with shade using pinfish for the reds, and then offshore, kingfish. Marco to Sanibel fishing the wrecks in 65 to 80 feet using large live baits. Blue runners seem to be working the best, Brie.
All right, well, reports are in, and Father's Day weekend is looking pretty good to get out on the water. So stay hooked, because up next, we're telling you what we're fishing for next week, right here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
All right.
Oh, boy. It's your favorite.
Your time on the water is precious. You return season after season to make unforgettable memories, fight a few fish, reconnect with friends, and recenter yourself. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters stay with Yamaha for the long run, for life. They know reliability starts here.
We are for those who know. Those who know that opportunity is nothing without preparation. Those who know that the right gear can make or break a day. Born out of a need for reliability, tested and proven on the Miss Brit charter fleet. From terminal tackle to all your live bait needs, whether you're fishing for fun or looking to win a tournament, R&R Tackle has what you need to stay ready.
Well, Rick, next week we are talking redfish. Yeah. So, you know, that's your favorite.
Tarpon's his favorite.
We should just stay home.
Redfish.
I know, but redfish
I like redfish.
is like
He's so friendly.
Right here.
He's friendly.
He looks like
That's
a
why
puppy
I
dog.
love him.
We'll just stay home. You don't need us.
No,
he
I
can do
really
the whole
don't.
show by himself.
I'm ready.
All right,
Put
but
me
we
in,
still
Coach.
get paid. Don't worry.
No,
I got us, Dave.
No.
Oh yeah.
I'm saving.
I will be here. I will be here.
All right.
All right. Well, happy Father's Day, everybody. Make sure you go out there and catch some big
Happy
fish.
Father's Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
you too, brother.
You too, gentlemen.
Probably the only one I'll get.
Oh, that's not nice. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.